Hey, Peak Podcast listeners, Kyle Miller, worship leader at the Peak, here to let you know about an awesome new podcast we have at the Peak Church. Pastor Kyle recently launched a podcast called Footnotes, where he will dive deeper into the topics discussed in the sermon each week. You can find that podcast on this same channel right below the sermon that you are currently listening to. So if you listen to this sermon and are interested in diving deeper into this topic and learning more, be sure to check out that Footnotes podcast. Without further ado, here's this week's sermon.
The scripture passage for today is from the book of John, chapter 21, verses 17 through 23. He asked a third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was sad that Jesus asked him a third time, "Do you love me?" He replied, "Lord, you know everything. You know I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep. I assure you that when you were younger, you tied your own belt and walked around wherever you wanted. When you grow old, you will stretch out your hands, and another will tie your belt and lead you where you don't want to go." He said this to show the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. After saying this, Jesus said to Peter, "Follow me." Peter turned around and saw the disciple whom Jesus loved following them. This was the one who had leaned against Jesus at the meal and asked him, "Lord, who is going to betray you?" When Peter saw this disciple, he said to Jesus, "Lord, what about him?" Jesus replied, "If I want him to remain until I come, what difference does that make to you? You must follow me." Therefore, the word spread among the brothers and sisters that this disciple wouldn't die. However, Jesus didn't say he wouldn't die, but only, "If I want him to remain until I come, what difference does that make to you?" This is the word of God for us, the people of God. Thanks be to God.
Well, good morning, everyone, and it's good to be back with you after being away last week. If you don't know, I was away at a ministry conference last week, and how many of you, by the way, for work, do conferences every now and again? Some of you? Any of you? Okay, handful of us. I have sort of a complicated relationship with conferences, by the way. I'm better at them now, but especially early in ministry, every time I went to a conference and I was surrounded with all of these ridiculously successful churches, amazingly successful pastors, it was hard to not walk away from that experience feeling like, well, a total hack. I'll give you an example. Back in 2015, the Peak was just a little baby church, and I was just a little baby pastor. And I'll never forget, the denomination put out this initiative where we were going to raise money for an organization called Imagine No Malaria. And that money was going to be used for really good work for mosquito nets and other preventative measures for areas and pockets of the world who suffer outbreaks from malaria. And we raised, here at the Peak, $5,000. $5,000. And I was jazzed about that. I was stoked. Like, we were a brand new church, kind of finding our way. It was the first time we ever did some sort of like very special fundraising campaign. I was stoked. And so I was riding that high for all but about 3 weeks, because the next month I went to a conference. And at this conference, I kid you not, the first speaker is introduced. And he goes, "All right, so now I want you to help me welcome to the stage a man who needs no introduction. He's the author of, I forget how many books, his churches, I forget how many thousands of people. And you remember that Imagine No Malaria initiative? This church helped us raise $100,000. Everyone give it up for the guest preacher now." And he comes out there, crowd goes nuts. And I immediately feel like that Homer Simpson meme. Do you know what I'm talking about? Anywhere but here. Let me disappear. It's moments like these, and several since then, that have reminded me just how powerful of an influencer comparison can be. And I think if we were honest this morning, comparison is this voice that it almost happens instinctually. It happens subconsciously. You don't even know you're doing it. But day in and day out, you're unconsciously comparing yourself to that friend, that family member, that random person on social media. And to be fair, this influencer, this voice has been around a minute. In fact, it goes all the way back to biblical times. It even shows up in our story for today. I'll set the scene for you. In John chapter 21, where we are in the Gospels is Jesus has died, he is risen from the dead, and now he's appearing to all of his disciples, kind of trying to get them back on track. And it's going well until he has an interaction with Peter. Now, this conversation with Peter is a bit awkward. Why? Well, because last time out, Peter didn't have a great showing. When Jesus was tried and arrested and eventually executed, Peter, who all along, the whole time during his earthly ministry, Peter would be in Jesus' ear like, bro, I don't care if everybody leaves your side. Like, I ain't never gonna, I'm ride or die, baby. Let's go. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what anyone else does. It doesn't matter if anyone else leaves you. I will never forsake you. And then, 3 separate times, while Jesus is en route to his execution, 3 separate times, people were like, hey, aren't you the one hangs out with? He's like, no, not me. Second time, nah, I've seen you before. Like, you're the one that hangs out with the Jesus guy. Who dis? I don't know who you're talking about. Like, that ain't me. Third time, nah, you are one of his boys. You're one of Jesus' boys. That's another Peter. That's somebody else. Right? Which, first century Israel, not sure how many Peters were running around back then, but suffice to say, this is not a proud moment for him. And so this conversation right here in John chapter 21, this is the first conversations they've had since then. So it's pretty tense, right? Peter's feeling a lot of shame. He's feeling a lot of guilt. And I think just like at a core level, he's super embarrassed about how he handled himself. So how does Jesus respond? I love this from Jesus. Jesus does not really lay on the guilt for all that Peter did wrong. He doesn't relitigate all 3 denials and make sure that he answers for and offers a justification and explanation as to why he couldn't remain devoted, couldn't keep his allegiances. No, instead, Jesus asks Peter a very, very simple question. Do you love me? I almost imagine Peter trying to, make his case, right? Like, Jesus, you don't understand. Like, the first time, I didn't really see her. She kind of snuck up on me and asked if I knew you. And so, he's offering this whole explanation, trying to provide understanding. And Jesus just kind of cuts through it every time, says, stop. Do you love me? Yes, Lord, you know I love you. Second time, do you love me? Yes, Lord, you know I love you. Do you love me? Then feed my sheep. I almost interpret this as Jesus saying, listen, I don't have no use for guilt. I don't have no use for regret. That ain't going to get you nowhere. Do you love me? Because I never stopped loving you. And if you love me, let's get back to work. We got stuff to do. And I love this. At least in the immediate aftermath, it worked, right? Peter redrops his nets. I love that detail is included. This is precisely where Jesus found Peter the first time and invited him to be one of his disciples the first time. He was a fisherman. And so he went back to fishing because I sense he was just sort of like, well, I guess I'm done. I'm not going to be the rock on which God builds his church. I'm not going to be this influencer in this movement that Jesus started. I just got to go back, I guess, to what I did before. I love that detail is included because it communicates that we can always start again. We always can start again. And so Peter does, right? He starts again. He follows again. But he's in that kind of vulnerable state, right? He's confident, but not really so confident. And while he's in that vulnerable state, what happens? He bumps into John. Now, here's what you know about John. John fled too, okay? When the going got tough, John hightailed it out of there too. But John's fall from grace wasn't as spectacular as Peter's. Like, John didn't have the 3 denials, and John at least came back. The Gospels say that John is the only of the male disciples who comes back and witnesses Christ's crucifixion. So he's the only one that's at least there. So Peter knows all that. So when he bumps into John, what happens? The shame monster reappears inside of him. And immediately he starts comparing himself and his mistakes to John's mistakes and his regrets to John's. And so what does verse 21 says? It says that Peter then turns to Jesus and says, hey, Lord, what about him? He fled too. He didn't do what he said he was going to do either all the way. What about him? Aren't you going to pull him aside and have a little talking to? Aren't you going to pull him aside and have a little chit chat? What about him? It reminds me of when I was in like 3rd or 4th grade when I shot my brother with a BB gun. Now, here's a picture of us at this age. This is me and my siblings. Not the kid in the brown hair, that's our neighbor, Jake. But this is my 3 siblings. That's my sister, Susan, right there in the front. And I'll let you take a guess which of the boys is me and which is my saintly, much holier brother, Austin. And so I broke the rule. I broke the major rule that my parents gave me: do not shoot the BB gun at anybody. And for what it's worth, it wasn't like an upper torso shot. It was a lower one. Like, I'm aiming at ankles and stuff like that. It's like, I ain't messing around. And so Austin tells on me, and my dad, I don't think I've ever seen him this mad before. He's like rage level. And I can see in his eyes he's contemplating what my punishment is going to be. So I had to make a judgment call. Okay, I ain't proud of this, but I had to make a judgment call. I'm watching the discipline coming down, and I said, Dad, before you do, you just got to know. You know the hole in the dining room window? That was Austin. So what about him? What about him? I know, stitches get stitches, but in this case, it actually reduced my punishment. And so I actually would recommend it to some of you looking to try to get out of a sneaky situation. What about him? I said. What about him? Peter said. These stories, what they do is they illuminate what are the experiences where we're going to be most tempted to compare ourselves to other people. The first of which, pretty easy, it's guilt, right? The first sort of experience that's going to really tempt you to compare your life with other people's, is when you feel guilty. It's when you feel remorse. It's when you feel bad about something you did. That's when that comparison influencer is going to kick in heavy. It's going to say, okay, you look around and use the what about defense mechanism. Well, what about them? What about what they did? What about what they said? What about how they're responsible too? And why do we do that? Because in our sort of twisted minds, we believe the lie that if we pull them down with us, we won't feel as bad about what we did. If I can just get you to stop looking at me and look at them too, then I don't have to feel so bad about my mistake. When you are feeling guilty about something you have done, be on guard against this influencer of comparison, but that's not the only time. That's not the only experience. That's not the only feeling that will bring this influencer on. The other is what? It's when we are feeling not just guilty, but it's when we're feeling insecure. As my story earlier alluded to, when you're feeling insecure about your professional achievements or lack thereof, you will be tempted to compare yourself with your peers in other workplaces and work environments. And not only that, we are very tempted to fall into comparison when we feel insecure about our bodies and our appearances and how other people look in comparison to us. We fall into comparison mode when we feel insecure about our wealth or our possessions. Dang, like they got the car I always wanted, or dang, they got the house I always wanted, or wow, they get to go on the vacations that I've always wanted to go on. We compare when we fall into insecurity related to our relationships. When we're struggling in our relationship and we see someone else who it appears, God, they have it all together. They never fight about this. They never struggle with this. They never have to go through what I'm going through. Dang, we fall into comparison whenever we feel insecure, even about our faith. Even about our faith. You ever bumped into somebody who's so much farther along in their spiritual walk than you are? It's the worst. It's the worst. Makes you feel like a complete and total imposter. And some of you know that firsthand because that's actually probably what you feel. Maybe some of you are new to church. You're kind of coming back into church today, or you're checking out church online for the first time in a long time. And the reason why church has been so scary for so long is because it's hard being around people who, I don't know, at least on the outside, appear to have all their spiritual questions sorted out, all of their intellectual things with faith and with God sort of settled. We fall into comparison, and we're judging the beginning of our journeys on the middle of theirs. And friends, I can't overemphasize this. I don't think this can be overstated. As your pastor, I need you to hear me. I need you to hear how dangerous comparison is. It is so dangerous. Not only to your mental health, right? Many of you have heard this saying many, many times before. Comparison is the thief of what? The thief of joy. You've heard this before. It's been said numerous times. And it's true, isn't it? It's true. You'll be having a great day, enjoying life, happy about something really good that happened to you. And the moment you see something or someone who has something a little bit better, what happens? It evaporates. And it's impossible. I challenge you, go try it later today. Go try to be grateful for the good things in your life and at the same time survey what everyone else has. Try, I dare you. It's impossible. Comparison is disastrous for your mental health. And friends, we're in church, so we got to talk about this. It's also disastrous for your spiritual life as well. What I have found as a pastor is that working with people and even working with myself, for whom comparison is an old friend / enemy, I know firsthand that comparison will not only steal your joy, it will rob you, it will steal your ability to hear God's voice in your life. How so? I'll prove it to you. Marie and I, that's my wife, we have just reached the stage of parenting where we're starting to realize that our opinion in our kids' lives is mattering less and less with every passing day. Anybody else reaching that stage in parenting? You got a preteen-er or a middle schooler or a high schooler? We found this out. I found this out very, very palpably this week, because this week was picture day in our home, picture day for our kiddos. And again, humor me. As I was rummaging through all these pictures of me and my brother, I found this picture. This is a picture of us on picture day. Simpler times, right? Overalls, cut off sleeves. Simpler times. Somebody said that's so bad. That's awesome. Yeah, thanks. Y'all come next Sunday. We'll have a change of wardrobe. So it's picture day at our house, and my kids come downstairs dressed how they want to be perceived, and they want, in their best. And I'm showering them compliments. I'm like, daggum, love the fit, love the shirt, love the sneaks, love the hair, loving it, love, love, love it. Now, if my parents had said that to me on my picture day, it wouldn't have meant jack diddly squat. You gotta say that, you're my mom. You gotta say that, you're my dad. It doesn't really matter what you think. But if my friends said that, if a couple hours later I showed up to school and some of my friends were like, dang, love the sleeveless situation. Like, that's money. I love that. The hair, too. How much gel you got in that hair? Whole bottle. Whole bottle? Whole bottle. All right. LA gel. Remember that one? Yeah. LA looks. That's what it was. Thank you. Thank you, Dane. Dane's still wearing it, so I don't think you can still buy it. Some of you have no idea what I'm talking about, and that's to your benefit, my friends. If my friend said it, it meant the world to me. Why? Why is that? Because that's who I was comparing myself with. That's whose opinion of me and of my life really mattered. And so let's just call it like it is. Friends, if you live a life, I'm serious about this, if you live a life constantly obsessed about the opinions of other people, do you want to know whose opinion you'll never know? You want to know whose opinion you'll never care about? If you spend your whole life constantly listening to the voices around you telling you, no, you gotta be this person, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta be this, you gotta be that. You want to know whose voice you'll never ever make room for? If you spend all your time kind of cheating off other people's paper and go, well, what did you do? And what did you run after? And what was most important to you? And what did you get? What did you acquire? What answers did you find? You want to know what you can't read? The story that God's trying to write for you. If you spend your whole life comparing yourself to other people, it won't feel like this at first, but over time, what will happen is you will actually be rejecting God's design. You will be rejecting God's plan. You will be rejecting all of the dreams that God had in store for you in pursuit of your own engineered, manufactured cocktail of a life. Instead of bearing the image of our Creator, we will live this sort of Frankenstein-like existence, sort of piecemealed together by all of these different things that came from somebody else. And I don't know about you. I don't want to live that way no more. Like, real talk, I don't want to live that way no more. I don't want to live a fractured existence where I'm constantly trying to just be all these different things for somebody else. And friends, if that's you, if any bit of that is you, then Lent is for you. Lent this season, this 40 days of preparation for Easter, Lent provides this wonderful opportunity for us to really look inward and search ourselves, to search our hearts, to search our lives, and to search for things that we need to let go of. And so, friends, if that's you, if comparison has been holding you in bondage for so long, if it's had a stranglehold on your life for far too long, then consider this your invitation. Consider this Lent an invitation to finally put that influencer back in its place. Kyle, how do I do that? Well, it's actually quite easy to understand. Hard to do, but easy to understand. Step one, you're going to have to turn down the volume. You're going to have to find ways in your life to turn down the volume, particularly the voices of those who are constantly telling you, comparing you, measuring you, or tempting you to measure yourself against them, against someone else. You're going to have to find ways to physically, to literally, to implicitly, explicitly turn down the volume in your life, and you're going to have to find ways to purposefully, on purpose, start obstructing your vision. You're going to have to find ways to put things in your path so that you can't see what everyone else is doing and who everyone else is calling you to be. At the core, you want to know what this is? It's humility. The first step is going to require some humility from you to admit that you are not strong enough. You thought you were. The whole time you thought you were. But you're not strong enough on your own to resist that pull, to fall into that trap. In the same way, I'm not strong enough to be left alone with Oreos. I also am not strong enough. Real talk, I am not strong enough. At different parts of my life, especially when I've experienced failure or setback or anything of that nature that's making me feel insecure, in those seasons, I'm not strong enough to just simply walk through life and not compare myself with the people that I love, that I appreciate, that I look up to, that I respect. And so what I have to do is I have to find ways to limit the access that those people have to my vision, to my imagination, to my soul. And if that sounds petty to you, I'll just say, for me, it's not only an act of humility, but it's also an act of compassion. The reason why I put those limitations in my own life so that I don't have as much interaction with those folks during those particular seasons of my life is because I don't want to hate them. I don't want to resent them. I don't want to compare myself to them so much that at some point I start wishing that they didn't have so many good things in their life all the time. We're getting real honest today. And I do so as an act of compassion to myself because I love myself enough to protect myself from all those visions and all those voices telling me that I'm not enough, that I'm not okay, that I gotta be better at fill in the blank. Now that's the first step. And I hate to break it to you, that's the easy step. You see, friends, if you're serious about wanting to rid comparison's power from your life, you're going to have to not only turn the volume down, you're going to have to not only start putting some blinders up, but you're going to have to also tend to the deeper work. And at some point, you will have to address the root cause of your jealousy, of your shame, of your tendency to compare all the time. Kyle, what does that look like? Well, it looks like spending time with questions like these. Question number one. Maybe one of the reasons why you feel so trapped by comparison is because of a mistake that you have made. Back to the example of Peter. You've beat yourself up over that mistake for so long. You've never forgiven yourself. You've never showed yourself grace. Instead, what you've chosen to do is you've chosen to measure that mistake against other people's mistakes, believing the lie that some way, somehow, that'll make you feel better. What mistake do I need to forgive? Number two, what limitation do I need to accept? For others of us, the reason why we get so bound up in this comparison game is because we have a limitation that someone else does not have, and we judge our lives against theirs and say, well, I should be more like them because they're more this or they're more that. Raise your hand if you're an introvert in the room. We're going to love on our introverts just for a quick minute. I feel like introverts feel this with extroverts often. I just wish I was more I hear this from introverts often. I wish I was more extrovert. I wish I could just be out there and chat it up. And what they might perceive as a limitation is actually what I have found. All of the introverts in my life have incredible gifts that I don't access as an extroverted person. And that leads to the third one. What gift do I need to appreciate more? What gift has God given to me, but I don't know, this world doesn't appreciate it, and my friends don't appreciate it, and my family doesn't appreciate it, and my partner doesn't appreciate it, and so I just believed the lie that this gift isn't actually a gift. I need to throw it away and find another gift. I need to find some other gift that is appreciated. Maybe that's the comparison trap you've been stuck in, and so what gift, what beautiful part of you do you need to enjoy again? Now, take a breath. Ready? Because that's a lot. That's a lot. Your challenge today is not to tend to all of these questions. Your challenge this Lent is to pick one. And I'll give you a hint. Pick the one that's loudest in your life right now. Pick the mistake, the limitation, the unappreciated gift or strength that you have that is so often sending you most frequently into this comparison mode. Pick that one, start there, okay? Deal? Do I have a deal? Deal? Some of the overachievers are like, nah. I'm gonna make up a fourth question and do that one too. No, one, pick one, start with one. Because friends, the moment you do this, the moment you get serious about this, is the moment where you will finally start making some inroads in this fight against all of those voices that are trying to make you into somebody that you're not. And furthermore, by doing this, you will actually find the sweetest, deepest, richest communion that you've ever experienced with your original architect, with your original designer, with your maker, your creator.
Thank you for listening to the Peak Podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever podcasts can be found. For more information on how to get connected with our church, please visit us at thepeakchurch.org.